Let me tell you of the days of high adventure.
Hey there nation, welcome to the show where we help you to play miniatures wargaming on a budget. It is I, Commander Cheapskate, and we are back with another edition of Warhammer-Wednesdays, where we showcase weekly Warhammer Fantasy Battle Reports with our series The Golden Age. This is our series of battle reports for the 8th edition Warhammer Fantasy, and this is battle report number 95. It is a 3,000 point battle that is fought between King Khalifa as well as myself. King Khalifa is bringing the Schwarzwald Free Companies, a 3,000 point Empire army, and I'll be playing the Shrieking Masquerade, my 3,000 point Slaanesh Legion of Chaos army. So this will be the third game that the Slaanesh Legion of Chaos is fought in. Like I said before, for these next few episodes of Golden Age, pretty much I'm going to be taking this Slaanesh Chaos army and making him go up against every single army within our studio, so that we can see exactly how it stacks up against every faction that we have. So with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to go show you guys the army list as well as the pictures of each of the armies. We're going to play some background music at the same time. If you want to see exactly what we're bringing for this one, go ahead and pause and take a look at your own leisure, or check down below into the description. I've also pasted the copies of all of the different army lists as well. So that being said, let's get this battle report on a roll.
Crom, I've never prayed you before. I have no tongue for it. No one, not even you, will remember if we were good men or bad, why we fought, or why we died. No. All that matters is that two stood against many. That's what's important. Power pleases you, Crom. So grant me one request. Grant me revenge. And if you do not listen, then the hell with you.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, dying times here.
Alright, so let's talk about the scenario for this one. The scenario is Battle Line. It is the most typical game of Warhammer Fantasy that we play on this channel, with standard deployment as well as standard victory conditions. And to be honest with you, it's probably the only type of scenario you'll actually see from us play for the longest time. Alright, so with the Battle Line scenario rules over, let's go and talk about the battle plan real quick. Alright, so here's an overhead shot of the entirety of the battlefield. As you can see, we are playing on a 4x6 table. My buddy King Khalifa is deployed on the near side of the table, while I'm deployed on the far side of the table. And pretty much the plan here for this one is pretty simple. I'm going to try to gauge my opponent as quickly as I possibly can, catch them in close combat, and destroy them. I'm playing a Chaos Legion of armies, so because of that, it's not really complicated my tactics. I need to get stuck in quick and destroy as much as possible. My goal here, the things I'm actually the most worried about for this army, is actually the flanks of my opponent's army. On the left hand side, he's got that huge unit of knights, inner circle knights that I gotta worry about. There are 21 of those guys. Well, actually there's 20 of those guys with a captain leading them as well with this crown of command. So I'm really worried about that unit as well. And also on the far right hand side, I'm also worried about his two steam tanks he has covering his right hand flank. Now, as for his infantry in the center, I could probably beat those guys down and probably destroy them pretty quickly. The only real thing I have to worry about, of course, are that unit of the Black Company there, that huge unit, that huge horde formation of great swords. I do have to worry about them. However, I am Warriors of Chaos. Actually, my fighters pack more punch, so hopefully what I'm going to try to do is try to anchor down the flanks, keep them occupied. Hopefully I can destroy them and then finish them off in the center of my own infantry forces. I'm planning on sending my light cavalry as well as my chariots directly to the left hand side to deal with those knights. Same thing with my Slaanesh demonettes, and the rest of my infantry forces can smash into the middle section there and take them on. As for the steam tanks on the right hand side, I'm just hoping to bog them down as long as I can with either magic or using my Gorbeast chariot or using my Fiends of Slaanesh. And that's pretty much my battle plan on this one. So the battle plan over, let's go and talk about deployment real quick. Alright, so going to talk about deployment for the Schwarzwald Free Companies, my friend King Khalifa's 3,000 point Empire army. On the far left hand side we have Donner, that's an Imperial Great Cannon, and right next to him on the right hand side that is the Vagrant Brotherhood. It is a unit of 20 Inner Circle Knights with full command. They're packing full plate armor as well as great weapons, and they're also equipped with a Steel Standard as well, which means they get to ignore movement penalties for barding and reroll any dice rolls for 1 when determining charges, flings, as well as pursuits. And leading that unit as well is Sir Tybalt Kraus, the Vagrant Knight. He is a captain of the the Empire. He's got the great weapon. He's also got full plate armor as well with shield barding, and he's also riding on top of a warhorse that's barded, and he's also equipped with this crown of command. So this unit also has stubborn on it as well. So this is a really tough unit to crack, and as you can see in previous battle reports, King Khalifa's knight unit's actually really good targeting it because it's got really high armor saves, and at the same time they also pack a punch too when they hit you back. So with the left-hand flank over, we go directly to the center of his army. To the left-hand side is the center deployment. On the top of that building there, we have Blitzen, which is a Hellblaster volley gun. Right next on the right-hand side, that is a blue company's unit of 20 halberdiers, and that's all they have. And right in front of them is a 5-man detachment of archers from Rommel's Rangers. In the center of his army, he has Rommel's Rangers, with a unit of 10 archers right there in the front, and right next to him on the right-hand side, there's another 5 archer detachment that is attached to the Rommel's Rangers. In the back, that unit is called the Black Company. It's a unit of 37 great swords with full command. Also, they also have a standard of discipline as well, giving them +1 to leadership. They're packing great weapons as well as full plate armor as well, so that unit is a very hard nut to crack. And also, leading that unit is 3 different characters. Leading this unit is the General Gregor von Konigsmarck. He is a Arch-Lector. He's got a great weapon. He's also got battle prayers. He's also equipped with the armor of Meteoric Iron, giving him +1 to his armor save, and he has the white cloak of Ulric as well, making him -1 hit against him. He's also got a 5 ward save and a 2 ward save against flaming attacks. Leading that also in that unit, another character is Viktor Helsbraad of the Wild. He is a level 4 battle wizard lore with the lore of life. He's got the Book of Ashur, giving him +1 to cast as well as dispel attempts. The spells he's packing for this one are Earthblood, Flesh to Stone, Throne of Vines, as well as Regrowth. And then finally, the back right behind them, that is Maximilian Max. He is a battle wizard. He's actually a level 2 lore of metal. He's got the spells Enchanted Blades of Iban, as well as Glittering Robes. And then finally, on the right-hand side, we have the Red Company, which is another unit of 20 halberdiers that are attached to the Black Company, and a 5-man unit of archers attached to Rommel's Rangers. And finally, on the far right-hand side, he's got 2 steam tanks. The one on the left is called the Panzerbearer, and the one on the right is called the Panzerwolf. And those basically make up the two steam tanks that I'm absolutely terrified of making up his right-hand flank. So with the deployment for the Empire over with, we go across the table to my deployment area. So first of all, starting off my Vanguard units for the Shrieking Masquerade. Up in the front, that unit is called the Nightkin. It's a unit of 5 Hellstriders of Slaanesh. They got full command, as well as spears. They're all mounted on steeds of Slaanesh. And I decided to do something a little bit different with my Chaos Lord. This is because I was watching a couple of episodes of Lord Tremendous as I was painting up my miniatures. Lord Tremendous makes awesome Warhammer Fantasy Battle Reports a couple of years ago, back in when the 8th was still around. And he was actually the guy that kind of inspired me to do battle reports myself. And there was a really cool thing he used to do when he used to have his Chaos Warriors army. He used to have a unit of Hellstriders, and he used to put a Chaos Sorcerer Lord on a Steed of Slaanesh with them, so that way they can Vanguard up and also cause all kinds of problems. So I decided to do exactly the same thing because that sounds like a really cool idea, so something I wanted to try. So leading this unit is Telemac and Lyris the Masked Prince. He is a Chaos Sorcerer Lord of Slaanesh. He is level 4 Lore of Slaanesh. He's packing the spells Pavane of Slaanesh, Slicing Shards, Phantasmagoria, as well as Cacophonic Choir. He's mounted on a Steed of Slaanesh, so that way he can move up with the rest of the unit. He's packing the Sword of Might, giving him +1 strength, Skull of Catan, because channeling 6 dice is always better than 1. He's also got Lure of Slaanesh, which means that opponents must pass a leadership test in order to attack him, and he's also got Flaming Breath as well. And that pretty much makes up my Vanguard over here on the left-hand side. On my far right-hand side from my Vanguard up, I have the unit called the Resplendent Stalkers, using a 5 Seekers of Slaanesh with Standard Bearer. And that makes up my Vanguard deployment. So jumping back to my main battle lines, on my left-hand flank I got 2 Chariots of Slaanesh. The one on the left-hand side is called the Depravity of Enoch, and the one on the right-hand side is called the Scion of Sylph. Right there on the right-hand side, there's 23 Demonettes of Slaanesh called the Empty Orchestra. They got Musician as well as Standard Bearer. They're also packing the Standard of Swiftness, so that way their movement's 7. So basically they're like cavalry at this point. And leading that unit as well is the Infernal Enraptress. She's a Herald of Slaanesh. She's got level 2 Wizard. She's got the Greater Locus of Swiftness, giving them always strike first. She's got the spell Lash of Slaanesh, and she's got Cleaving Blow for her gift on this one. So she actually causes multiple wounds too in her close combat attacks. So in the center of my deployment for my battle lines, up at the front, that is unit of 5 Chaos Warhounds with no upgrades. They're called the Children of Rhine, and right behind them, using a blocking position to keep these guys in check for their frenzy rules, is the Beasts of Midian. Is 25 Bestigors with Musician and Standard Bearer. They also got great weapons and heavy armor. They also got the Standard Discipline, giving them +1 to the leadership. Now normally they would not be able to use the General's leadership, however the General for this army is in that unit as well. Her name is Enkari, the Ravager of Ulthuan. She's a Doom Bull of Slaanesh. She's also the General of my army. She's got heavy armor as well as shield. She's got the steel claws, so that way she gets additional D3 attacks, and on a 6, her attacks ignore armor saves. She's also got the ram horn helm, giving her +1 to armor save, and plus she also makes a bonus attack at basic strength every time she makes an armor save. She's also got the talisman of endurance, giving her 5-up ward save, and she's also got gnarled hide, giving her a 5-up scaly save. So she's got a 1-up armor save with 5-up ward save, got D3 +5 attacks. She's got frenzy. She got all kinds of stuff. She's just kitted out just to kill as much as possible. And I really love that character. And next on the left-hand side, that is Tajak the Overseer. He is a Wargore of Slaanesh. He's also the army's battle standard bearer. He's got great weapon as well as heavy armor and shield. He's also packing the Beast Banner, giving that unit +1 to their strength. So Ankari is strength 7 in close combat with all those attacks that she has. She just blends people to death is what she does. Now, finally, next on the right-hand side, that is a unit called the Flesh Carnival. It is a unit of 20 Forsaken of Slaanesh with Chaos Armor, as well as Frequency Mutations, and they also got Swift Stride because they are Mark Slaanesh. And finally, making my right-hand flank, I got 2 units. The one on the left is a Gorbeast Chariot called the Call of the Denied One. She's a Gorbeast Chariot with the Mark of Slaanesh. And the right next on the right-hand side, those are my Slender Slaughterers, which is a unit of 3 Fiends of Slaanesh. And that pretty much makes up my deployment for this one. So with deployment over with, we go directly to the top of turn number 1, and both King Khalifa and I roll off for initiative to see which of us will be going first. Alright, so that takes us directly to the top of turn number 1, and this photo is taken at the move phase, and I get to go first. So the Legion of Chaos get to go first, and Slaanesh gives me his blessing, and I go moving up quickly as possible. And the reason why that is the case is because, I have to close distance really quickly because this Empire army has some pretty heavy artillery in terms of steam tanks with steam cannons, as well as a great cannon, as well as a Hellblaster volley gun. So the faster I can get across the battlefield, the sooner I don't have to worry about getting killed. So the first thing I do, of course, is I move up my Vanguard units. I move up the Resplendent Stalkers up in the front there, right next to that building, to try to act as a blocker to try to block the Vagrant Brotherhood, which is a huge unit of knights. And the reason why is because if they charge forward, they'll hit me, of course, and so they'll be forced to be stuck there in close combat, but they'll only be able to engage 3 of my fighters is what they'll be able to do. So that's what I'm kind of hoping for. It's kind of a cheeky trick, but at the same time, though, that's what I'm going for. At the same time, I also flank to the left with my Knightkin with Telemac and Lyris the Masked Prince. Hopefully I can whittle that unit down with some magic, with some movement shenanigans that can cause some problems that way, and hopefully destroy that Great Cannon at the same time. And at the same time, the rest of my army just kind of marches up as quickly as they can. We got the left-hand side, I'm setting up my Empty Orchestra so that way they can deal with the Knights because they have armor piercing. I got my Children of Rhine moving up forward. They march up forward as well and do so to block the position so that way the Beast of Midian can't, fail. If the case they fail a frenzy check, they can't charge forward, so that kind of helps me out. So I bring up the Beast of Midian. I also march up my Forsaken who passed their leadership test as well, so we're about going frenzy. I also march up to Call of the Denied One, as well as the Slender Slaughters on the right-hand side. And that pretty much makes my move phase for this one. So here's a close-up of the Knightkin led by Telemac and Lyris, the Masked Prince, and I'm really looking forward to see what kind of chaos they can cause. So this is a Lord Tremendous inspired build, so I'm really excited to see exactly how it works out. At the same time, here's a close-up of the Resplendent Stalkers moving up forward to get into a blocking position to corner the Vagrant Brotherhood, make sure they can't charge at my infantry. And here's a close-up to Depravity of Enoch, as well as Sign of Sylph, the Empty Orchestra, the Children of Rhine, and the Beasts of the Midian, quickly trying to cross the battlefield as quick as they can. And here's a close-up of the Flesh Carnival, as well as to Call the Denied One, trying to get as quickly as they can to the right-hand flank. And finally, here's a close-up of the Slender Slaughters, getting ready to pounce onto the right-hand flank of the Schwarzwald Free Companies. So, but the move phase over with, we go directly to the magic phase. And during the magic phase, I pick up 2d6 to roll for the Winds of Magic. I got 2 4s, and that launches off the Dark Prince Thirsts ability off on the Reign of Chaos chart. Now, in case you're unfamiliar how it works, what you do is you roll a d6 for each of the units. Enemy units are unengaged. If you roll a 6, that unit has to take a leadership test using 3d6. And whatever the value is, whatever the difference is between the leadership as well as the 3d6, that's how many wounds they take with no armor save. So it's a really powerful Reign of Chaos ability. So the first thing it manages to hit is Donner, the Great Cannon. As you can see in this photo, the Great Cannon just basically explodes because the Dark Prince Slaanesh wanted their souls, and so we gave it to him. And at the same time, it also took 6 wounds off of Panzer's Wolf over here on the right-hand side, which is absolutely fantastic, because that Steam Tank now has only got 6 less wounds, and that is a beautiful, beautiful thing, because this thing can misfire now and cause all kinds of problems for his right-hand flank. The rest of my magic phase was pretty much shut down by my opponent. I didn't do very well with my magic phase, but I really can't complain because the Dark Prince Thirst was actually really good for me, so, you know, I'll take what I can get at this point. So with the magic phase over, we skip shooting phase because I don't believe in that game, and there is no close combat. So we go directly to the bottom of turn number 1 for the Empire. Alright, so that takes directly to the bottom of turn number 1 for the Empire, and this photo is taken after the movement phase, and as you can see in this photo, my buddy King Khalifa starts taking the offense. The first thing he decides to do is charge forward with the Vagrant Brotherhood. The Vagrant Brotherhood go crashing directly into the Resplendent Stalkers, and he's looking forward to chop those guys up. Like I said, I have no illusions of continuing keeping them there. These Resplendent Stalkers probably won't even last a round, but I just don't make sure. I just want these guys to run into my demonettes without me getting a flank charge off on them or charging too early and taking something out fragile. It's just a suicide mission for those Resplendent Stalkers for the most part. At the same time, he doesn't actually move the rest of his forces too much. The first thing that ends up happening is that he marches up Rommel's Rangers, so those guys move up their normal 8 inches forward, getting to blocking positions to protect his main lines. His main battle line of infantry forces stay exactly where they're at. There's no need for them to move. However, he does move up Maximilian Max to the corner of that ruin, so that way he can cast lower metal spells to help out the skirmishers. Meanwhile, the steam tanks on the far right-hand side, the Panzer Baron moves up, I think a couple of inches. I think he moves up like 6 or 7 inches, not very much. He manages to generate 4 steam points. He puts 2 of them moving forward, so that puts it within range to fire a steam cannon or a steam gun. And at the same time, I believe for the Panzer's Wolf, though, he misfired on the boiler. I think he put 2 wounds on himself as well. Doesn't move forward. He only has 2 steam points. He decides to put that into a steam cannon or a steam gun as well. And that pretty much makes his move phase for this one. So here's a close-up of the Vagrant Brotherhood charging directly into the Resplendent Stalkers, and I have no illusion of them surviving. I know my Resplendent Stalkers are dead. I just moved up forward to kind of act as a blocking position for the most part. And here's a close-up of King Khalifa's infantry forces, which are pretty much just standing their ground, with the only movement taking place with Rommel's Rangers, as well as Maximilian Max. And finally, as it closes to the steam tanks, you got the Panzer Baron moving to the left-hand side and the Panzer Wolf moving up normal. I think just a couple inches forward as well. I did make a mistake. He didn't lose 2 wounds. What happened was he only generated 2 steam points. That's what ended up happening. I do apologize. He only got 6 wounds left on him. He went to generate 4 steam points, but only ended up with 2 because he misfired on his boiler. And that makes it the move phase. So the move phase over, we go directly to the magic phase. And in the magic phase, unfortunately for me, my opponent was able to get off Throne of Vines. That's the one spell I was trying to stop him from getting off. I did stop the rest of his spells though, Flesh to Stone, as well as Earthblood, I believe, is what you try to cast. I managed to stop those, no problem. But at the same time though, he's got that dang Throne of Vines, which is a huge buff to Lore of Life spells. And because I was so busy trying to stop his Flesh to Stone as well as his other spells from Lore of Life, I let go Glittering Robes off. Maximilian Max cast Glittering Robes off onto Rommel's Ranger, giving the 5-up Scaly save, so the entire unit as well as his attachment receive that same buff as well. But you know, that's the most you can do at that point. So the magic phase over, we go directly to the shooting phase. In this photo, King Khalifa concentrates fire with all 3 units of Rommel's Rangers, as well as the Blitzen, the Hellblaster volley gun, and he cuts loose directly onto the empty orchestra. In the end, I lost 7 of my demons of Slaanesh and I'm not really complaining about that either. That's actually a really good result, all things considered, especially since I got like 24 shots off. With my phone, I got 24 shots off with that Hellblaster volley gun. I had like, 20 archers opening up on me. I was making my ward saves like a madman. It was insane how many ward saves I was actually making, so I got pretty lucky on this one. I'll take 7 losses, 7 casualties if I can stab that much firepower from destroying this unit, which is absolutely fantastic. And for the rest of the shooting phase, King Khalifa decides to activate both Panzer Baron as well as Panzer's Wolf. They open up with their steam guns, not their steam cannon. The steam guns are the ones that shoot the teardrop template like a breath attack. Opened fire with both those weapons directly onto my fiends, and luckily I only took a wound, which was that was really awesome on that part. Like I said, I was making my ward saves pretty good for my demonettes, for my fiends. So they managed to survive that only 1 wound. So I'll take that any day. Oh, sorry, not one wound, 2 wounds, and that was absolutely fantastic. So with the shooting phase over, we go directly to the combat phase. And in the combat phase, all praise Slaanesh in the combat phase. It was absolutely awesome, as you can see in this photo. Pretty much what ended up happening is that King Khalifa decided to, he charged directly into the Resplendent Stalkers. I get to go first. My Resplendent Stalkers managed to kill 2 members of the Vagrant Brotherhood. I just got really lucky. Unfortunately, King Khalifa just rolled a bunch of 1s for his armor saves on that one. So because he lost 2 of his knights. When he went to go strike back, unfortunately, he just flubbed his rolls for the most part. Literally 2/3 of his rolls missed with his hits. The other third did manage to hit me, but like I said, I was rolling my ward saves like I couldn't lose, so that part was insane. All 5 Resplendent Stalkers are perfectly fine, all things considered, so that part was absolutely amazing on that part. I think he managed to win by, yeah, that's what ended up happening. I managed to hit him by 2, so what ended up happening. He charged, he's got a standard, but I also got a standard too, so that got negated. I think he had a rank on me, I think is what ended up happening, but I forgot how that worked out. I forgot how he did the math on that. Looking back, no, we actually might have made a mistake, because if I think about this, yeah, I should have lost a Seeker. I should have lost a Seeker because of combat res. Oh well, we make mistakes all the time. But anyways, that's what ended up happening, so my Resplendent Stalkers are still holding the ground, which is absolutely fantastic. Alright, so with that we go directly to the top of turn number 2 for the Legion of Chaos, and this photo is taken after the move phase, and as you can see, I go in for the kill at this point. The first thing I do, of course, is I declare a charge with my chariots. Both the Depravity of Enoch as well as the Sign of Self go charging across the battlefield and smash directly into the Vagrant Brotherhood right in the front, so that part's pretty awesome. At the same time, I also charge forward with my Knightkin into the left-hand flank of the unit as well, so they go charge directly into the Vagrant Brotherhood. However, I decided not to let Tillamook and Myers go. He decided to leave the unit before that ended up happening, so that unit goes charging directly to the left-hand flank of the Vagrant Brotherhood, and that left Tillamook and Lyris all by himself. I then also declare a charge forward with my Children of Ryan. They go directly into Warhammer's Rangers. Same thing with the Flesh Carnival, so they get engaged in those guys as well. And then, of course, since the gap is left open, I decided to charge in with the Beast of the Midian. That one, the reason why they went forward is because I failed my leadership test. I'm not gonna lie, I just failed that one hands down, and even with the reroll. So I go crashing directly into that 5-man unit of Rommel's Rangers there on the left-hand side as well. And then finally, I also charge forward with Dekal Denied One. She goes directly into the Panzer Baron. At the same time, the Slender Slaughters go into the left-hand flank of the Panzer Zwolf over there on the right-hand side as well. And the last thing I do, of course, I take Tillamook and Lyris. He marches up 20 inches all the way to the back rank, and he's looking forward to cause some problems with these nice little infantry units right in front of him with some magic. And that pretty much makes it my move phase on this one. So here's a close-up of the left-hand flank. As you can see, this unit has now 3 different Slaanesh units going directly into the Vagrant Brotherhood. I got my Resplendent Stalkers, my 2 Chariots, which is the Depravity of Enoch, as well as the Sign of Self. I also got my Knightkin as well. So hopefully I could cause some problems, especially with those D6 plus 1 Strength 5 impact hits. I'm really looking forward to see exactly what those do. And here's a close-up of the Beast of the Midian charging directly into Rommel's Rangers, as well as the Children of Ryan. As you can see, I kind of have a traffic jam. I decided to keep the empty orchestra back, is what I decided to do, just in case if my Resplendent Stalkers get destroyed. If they do, then they can charge forward and then deal with the Vagrant Brotherhood. And here's a close-up of the Dekal Denied One going on, charging directly into the Panzer Baron and getting that engaged in close combat. And at the same time, you can see the Flesh Carnival going directly into Rommel's Rangers as well. And here's a close-up of the Slender Slaughters charging directly into the left-hand flank of the Panzer Wolf as well. And finally, here's a close-up of Tillamook and Lyris the Masked Prince getting ready to cause some problems with casting magic directly into these infantry units. So with the move phase over with, you go directly to the magic phase. And in the magic phase, I rolled for the Reign of Chaos chart for the Runes of Magic. I rolled a 7 on that wart, which means that, of course, depending on what my alignment is and the marks of chaos I have, depending on what I have, since I have Slaanesh, I once again got the Dark Prince Thirst, which is a really, really epic move on that part, which is really, really cool. It really ends up helping me out for the most part on that. So I go to roll to see exactly which units are affected by it. And as you can see in this photo, all 4 units over here in the infantry forces are all impacted by the spell. As you can see there, I got the blue company, I also got the black company, I also got the red company, and I also got Maximilian Max on there as well. In fact, the only thing I wasn't able to get was Blitzen, so that part was absolutely insane. So we're going to talk about exactly what ended up happening from the Dark Prince Thirsts. So first of all, I was able to kill 2 members of the Blue Company, which is absolutely fantastic. Unfortunately, I was not able to do anything against the Black Company. However, I did manage to kill Maximilian Max, which is absolutely fantastic. So now that level 2 wizard is dead. No more Lore of Metal spells to worry about anymore. At the same time, also managed to kill 6 members of the Red Company as well. Unfortunately, they did manage to pass their panic test, so they'd stand their ground. But at the same time, though, that part was absolutely fantastic with that Dark Prince Thirsts. So with the Reign of Chaos chart over with, we go directly to the Magic phase. So the first thing I do, of course, is I consult the Skull of Catan, and as you can see in this photo, the voices are starting to whisper me now. I lose 2 points to my leadership, which is absolutely, just sad. But at the same time, though, I also managed to channel 3 additional power dice, which is absolutely fantastic. So that part was really, really cool as well. So I decided to put all my spells directly into the Black Company. And in the Magic phase, I got really, really lucky in the Magic phase on that part as well. So the very first spell I decided to cast off real quick is Phantasmagoria. And Phantasmagoria, I managed to get that one off, which is pretty awesome. Unfortunately for King Khalifa, he just kind of rolled low for his Dispel dice. So what that spell does, in case you're unaware how that works, pretty much what ends up happening is that your opponent has to roll an additional d6 whenever they got to take leadership tests, and of course they got to take the highest one, the highest 2 in order to do that, which is absolutely fantastic. After that, of course, I then cast the next spell, which is probably the most important one, which is Pavana Slaanesh, and that allows me to pick a single enemy leader. And it pretty much has like the same effect as the Dark Prince Thirst, which basically what ends up happening is you take a leadership test with 3d6, and of course what ends up happening is that whatever the difference of leadership as well as a character, you lose that many wounds with no armor saves. Well, when combined with Phantasmagoria, what ends up happening is that instead of taking 3d6, my opponent King Cleave had to roll 4d6, and of those 4, he had to pick the 2 highest ones. Is pretty much how it worked out for that one. So as you can see there, I managed to kill Viktor Helsbraad of the Wilds and just atomize that guy. So just like that, my opponent lost his entire Magic phase by killing both of his wizards, which was absolutely cool. And then lastly, I was able to get out Slicing Shards on off this unit as well. Managed to kill 4 members of the Great Swords, so that part was really epic. Like I said, I had a very, very powerful Magic phase, just because I had 3 additional power dice they could throw around because of the Skull of Catan, so that part was epic. So with the Magic phase over with, we skip the shooting phase because I don't do that, and we go directly to the combat phase. And the combat phase here on the left-hand side was an absolute bloodbath. It was all kinds of awesome. In the end, it only cost me 3 heads, but it ended up costing me. I lost one of my Nightkin from the Hellstrider Slaanesh, though. That part was kind of sad. And I lost 2 members of the Resplendent Stalkers as well, so 2 of my Seekers die. However, I managed to kill 8 members of the Vagrant Brotherhood, which was absolutely fantastic. I also got flank charges and all kinds of cool stuff, but in the end, though, it really didn't matter. And the reason why is because this unit is stubborn with the Crown of Command, so they take the leadership test on unmodified leadership, and of course they pass no problem because of that Hold the Line ability. What ends up happening is that for Hold the Line, Empire Captains roll 3d6 and they take the 2 lowest, so of course they're not going anywhere. So that part was kind of sad. But then again, that's what this unit does. It's been notorious in my gaming group about how well it holds out against attacks, so this is nothing new to us. Meanwhile, the Beast of the Minion had no problem whatsoever chopping up those members of Rommel's Rangers, so because of that I have to overrun because I have Frenzy, so I overrun directly into the building and I charge directly into that Hellblaster Volley gun. So of course I'm engaged with that one now, which is absolutely fantastic because that means the Hellblaster Volley gun can't shoot me anymore. As you can see in this photo, the Children of Rhine had no problem just chewing through whatever Rommel's Rangers standing in their way. Most of them actually were not killed by my Chaos Hounds. It was actually killed by my Flesh Carnivals when it happened. The Flesh Carnival killed most of those guys, which freed up the Children of Rhine, who then of course overran and went directly into the Black Company in order to stop them from doing anything, to keep sure that they stay in place. I mean, let's face it, my Warhounds are sacrificial lambs at this point. However, close combat between the Flesh Carnival as well as Rommel's Rangers went stunningly. I just managed to wipe that unit out. However, when I overran because I have Frenzy, I can't hold back. I have to go forward. I charge directly into the 5-man detachment of Rommel's Rangers down the right-hand side. So because of that, I'm still engaged with those guys in close combat, and I'm not really much going anywhere. However, combat on the right-hand flank, though, is not going according to plan. Dekal the Nai-1 did nothing, and I mean nothing, against the Panzer Baron. And the Panzer Baron actually did nothing back in return, just because the Tank Commander was the only guy that could fight back. So that part was kind of nice. Meanwhile, the Slender Slaughters managed to put 2 more wounds off directly onto Panzerwolf, which is all kinds of awesome as well. I'm not really going to complain on that part. And of course, my opponent wasn't able to do anything back in return, so kudos to my Slender Slaughters. So that being said, ladies and gentlemen, we go directly to the end of the turn now for King Khalifa as well as the Empire. Alright, so it takes us directly to the bottom of turn number 2 for the Empire, and as you can see in this photo, my opponent decides to take the offense because he needs to do something in order to break this stalemate that's taking place. The first thing he decided to do is to try to charge with his detachments. He sends in the blue company directly into the Beast of the Midian on the left-hand side, and he sends the red company charging across the battlefield directly into my Flesh Carnival as well. So now the Flesh Carnival is engaged with the Rommel's Rangers as well as the Red Company, and the Beasts of the Midian are currently engaged with that Hellblaster Volley Gun as well as with the Blue Company Halberdiers as well. And of course the Black Company can't go anywhere because currently it's engaged in close combat with the Children of Rhine. Same thing with his 2 steam tanks as well as his Vagrant Brotherhood over here on the left-hand side. Now, I took this photo prematurely on accident, I will admit that. On the right-hand side, you'll see the 3 Fiends engaged with the Panzer's Wolf on that one, and that's because when I took the photo, my buddy King Khalifa said, wait, I didn't generate my steam tank points yet to do my stuff, because I just thought he was all done moving, and he was like, oh. So he's like, I didn't do that yet. So I was like, ah, crap. Well, it was too late by that point, so I decided to keep the picture, but you'll see exactly what happens here on the right-hand flank here in a second. So here's a close-up left-hand side. As you can see here, the Vagrant Brotherhood is still engaged with my Depravity of Enoch, as well as the Sign of Self, the Resplendent Stalkers, as well as the Nightkin. And I'm really looking forward to see exactly what ends up happening for this next round. And here's a close-up of the Blue Company, charging directly into the Beast of the Midian, trying to save their Hellblaster Volley Gun from being eaten alive by a bunch of Bestigors. And here's a close-up of the Children of Rhine engaging in close combat with the Black Company, and let's face it, those Warhounds are as good as dead. And here's a close-up of the Red Company as well as Rommel's Rangers taking on the Flesh Carnival. So with that takes us over to the right-hand side, and this is what the part I was talking about where some of the mistakes was made. I took the photo before King Khalifa resolved his steam tank attributes. So first thing, of course, you can see that he decides to put some of his attacks into grind attacks. Managed to put 2 wounds directly onto Dekal the Night One, so that part was really rough. Meanwhile, over here on the right-hand side, King Khalifa decides to generate 5 steam points, he decides to do, and he decides to do that as a misfire. He only's got like 2 wounds left on the steam tank, and that's the reason why he did it. So because of that, he, of course, goes to generate his steam points. He rolls a misfire because he rolls 2 on the artillery dice, and when he rolls for his result, he rolls the kaboom result, which means that the steam tank explodes, and at the same time exploding, I kill one of my Slender Slaughterers, as well as put a floating wound on the second one. So that part was kind of crazy. He just kind of kamikazed his own steam tank in order to get me as well, which is absolutely insane. So that part was kind of sad. So with that, we go directly to the magic phase, and if you're wondering, wait a minute, Commander Cheapskate, you killed both his wizards. How can King Khalifa have a magic phase? The reason why, because his general is an Arch Lector, and I forgot about that as well. His Arch Lector can generate power dice because he can use those power dice in order to get off his battle prayer. So of course, what does he do? He rolls like, I think a 6 and a 5 is what he ends up doing. So because I decided to consult the Skull of Catan, and unfortunately for me, I didn't get any additional power dice, and at the same time, of course, as you can see here, I lose an additional leadership now. So because of that, my guy's now, I think, is at leadership 6 is what he's at now. So, sorry, not leadership 6, he's at leadership 5. So there are Night Goblins that are braver than he is in terms of leadership. So that part's kind of sad. So my buddy King Khalifa went go for broke on all 3 of his battle prayers. I was able to stop the flaming attack one, as well as the one where anything takes damage within base contact with the miniatures. However, he was able to get the 5 award save. I was just unable to stop that spell from getting off. So because of that, now the units have 5 award save for both the Black Company as well as both of its detachments for the Blue and Red Company as well. Alright, so from there we go directly to the combat phase. As you can see in this photo, it ended up being a bloodbath on this one as well, which is all kinds of awesome. During the combat phase, I managed to kill 5 members of the Vagrant Brotherhood. At the same time, I was able to finally kill off, what's his name? Sir Tybalt Kraus. I was able to kill that guy off, which was absolutely fantastic as well. So because of that, they now lost their captain, so these guys are no longer stubborn as well. In exchange, I did lose the Depravity of Enoch, so that part was kind of sad. They also put 3 wounds directly onto the Sign of Self, which is also really rough as well. However, the Nightkin as well as the Resplendent Stalker was perfectly fine. Needless to say, I won this combat by a landslide, and since now they're down below 25% of their starting number, they have to roll Snake Eyes to stay.
Retreat! Retreat! Let's get the hell out of here!
And that's not what happens. They break, I pursue with the Nightkin. The Nightkin, of course, have no problem catching them, and I destroy the Vagrant Brotherhood. At the same time, with my Soul Hunter ability getting devastating charge off at the same time, which is all kinds of awesome. It actually overran directly to the building, but of course, there's a stop short of the building because they're cavalry and they can't go inside of it. So that part was pretty crazy. Meanwhile, combat over here in the center of the battlefield between the Blue Company as well as my Bestigors and the Beast of the Midian. What ended up happening is that, of course, I sent my assault party from the Beast of the Midian and go directly into the Hellblaster Volley again. Of course, killed that, no problem, so that part was pretty epic. At the same time, as you can see in this photo, I killed, what was it, 14? I killed 14 members of the Blue Company. Inkari, the Ravager of Ulthuan, she is an absolute nightmare when she goes up against light infantry, and she did most of those wounds herself. That part was absolutely fantastic. Managed to chop those guys to pieces, which is all kinds of great. Needless to say, of course, this attachment, of course, had to take a break test, and unfortunately for King Khalifa, he failed that break test.
Retreat! Retreat! Get the hell out of here!
In the end, King Khalifa fled back 10, no, was it 10 inches? Yeah, he ran back 10 inches of what ended up happening. So because that Blue Company runs back 10 inches, I have to, of course, pursue because I have frenzy on these guys. As you can see, they're also charge up forward, and I think only land like an inch behind them. So I think I'm moving 9 inches as well. Now, if you're wondering why I lost one guy, I forgot to mention this. The Blue Company did kill one of my Bestigors, so I forgot to mention that. But you can see why. I mean, it's only one Bestigor when all things are considered. Meanwhile, over here on the right-hand side, the fight between the Red Company as well as the Flesh Carnival was pretty one-sided. First of all, I destroyed Rommel's Rangers, managed to kill the rest of those skirmishers. Those guys all died. Managed to get Always Strike first with the combat phase on this one for my Freakish Mutations. At the same time, I also managed to kill, what was it, 5 more members of the Red Company, which is all kinds of cool. And at the same time, they also killed 2 of my Forsaken as well. Needless to say, I won this combat. However, King Khalifa did make his break test, so of course, the Red Company still stands its ground. And finally, of course, you can see this photo right here. Nothing much really happens. I wasn't able to do anything back against the Panzer Baron, and they were able to do anything back to me as well. So we're still stuck it out in close combat. And as you can see, ladies and gentlemen, this takes directly to the end of the game with the Chaos Legion of Slaanesh managed to get the win on this one. And the reason why that was the case is because my buddy King Khalifa was taking a look around what was happening and realized there was no way he was able to reconstitute what he lost in terms of point values. Just too many of his guys were gone, and he only had his one huge horde of great swords left, which I was going to easily outflank and get fully enveloped here in a little bit anyway. So he decided to kind of call the game at this point. So that being said, ladies and gentlemen, we go directly to the post game because this game is now officially over.
That's it, man. Game over, man. It's game over.
Sure, I could have stayed in the past. Could have even been king. But in my own way, I am king.
Hail to the king, baby.
Alright, you guys, now it's time for the after-action report. This is the part of the battle report we talk about what went well, what went poorly, and what we can learn from the next time that we do battle. This is the after-action report for the Golden Age Warhammer Fantasy Battle Report number 95, and this one ended up being a victory for yours truly. In the end, I managed to score 1,901 victory points, while King Khalifa only scored 145. For my losses, I lost the Children of Rhine as well as the Pride of Enoch. King Khalifa, however, he lost Viktor, Helsbraad the Wild, Sir Tybalt Kraus the Vagrant Knight, Maximilian Max, the Blue Company, the Vagrant Brotherhood, Rommel's Rangers, Donner Blitzen, as well as the Panzerswolf. And this was an extremely quick game, as you can see from this battle report. And the reason why is because Muinz shenanigans. That was what actually won me for this battle. I was able to hit his right flank as well as his rear lines with magic, and that pretty much spelt the doom for his army for the most part. His Vagrant Brother was a really good delaying unit. However, I was able to defeat it through attrition and close combat. And I just feel really bad for my buddy because, like I said before, he was just rolling a bunch of ones for his armor saves. So ones and twos for the worst part. So because he wasn't able to do much of anything to stop the amount of damage he was actually doing, it was actually pretty sad. I feel really bad for him at that part as well. Plus, the magic phase for me was actually really on point in this battle. I managed to get the Dark Prince Thirst. Is extremely powerful. I was able to get rid of one of his wizards. I was able to get rid of one of his artillery pieces, and it just gutted his steam tank and basically cored his center as well. So that part really helped out as well. Killing both Viktor Helsbraad of the Wilds as well as Maximilian Max really allowed me to dominate the magic phase on this one as well. And once again, I gotta give kudos to Lord Tremendous. I'm not sure if Lord Tremendous still watches my videos or not, or if he's still in the scene, but this is where it got me the idea to run my Sorcerer Lord with my Hellstriders. I was watching some Lord Tremendous battle reports as I was doing my painting of my miniatures, and I remember him talking about, what's his name? Ashur the Muse, I believe the name of the character. He was a Chaos Sorcerer Lord that ran with Hellstriders, and I saw how he was using with his battle reports. I'm like, like, that's a brilliant idea. I should really try that out. And as you can see there, it worked out really well on that one. So for that part, I'm probably going to keep that tactic for a long time for the time being, because that part was just too epic as well. And then combat. Combat was also really bloody during this battle report as well. In the end, I only lost pretty much 2 units. However, even though I only lost 2 units, though, most of my units took a lot of beating, however, so a lot of them are packing a lot of wounds. So it kind of shows you just how deadly King Khalifa's army still is in close combat as well. Unfortunately, I think the reason why I was able to win this one for the most part was because King Khalifa's dice just abandoned him during this battle report. He was just rolling a bunch of 1s and 2s for a lot of his stuff, especially armor saves. He was failing a lot of armor saves, unfortunately. While mine at this one, though, I was rolling a bunch of 5s and 6s like it was going out of style. So that part was pretty epic as well. And I feel if it wasn't due to poor luck in terms of dice rolling, I have feeling this battle would have been even larger and probably would have been more even, all things considered. Still, this was an amazing game against an awesome opponent, and as always, I am looking forward to the rematch. So that's good for this one, you guys. As always, please feel free to like, comment, and or subscribe. You guys' input is valuable to us as always. Also check us out on Facebook, Instagram, as well as blogger.com for all the latest greatest hobby news related to this channel. That's good for this one, you guys. We'll catch you guys next one. Peace out, and catch you guys in the next one.